Hello, everybody. Hello. Happy Friday. So I'm jumping on here. I'm live over here on Facebook and I'm live over here on Instagram. And I wanted to chat with you guys because I was just listening to an audiobook. And one of the chapters in the book was talking about work-life balance. And as you guys know, this is one of the things that I speak about, that I talk about with my coaching. In my book, I talk about this. Marie, hello, I miss you. And I wanted to shed some light on this topic because I think that hi Cynthia, how are you? I think that it's something that is so important for all of us to put attention on. And because this is something that's like thrown around a lot, right? Like work-life balance and what is it and how do I achieve it? Hi, Gail. So PS, by the way, just so y'all know, Gail and I are doing a 30-day go live challenge. So this is day 2 of the challenge and yeah, so here we are. So day 2 of going live. And today's topic, I wanted to talk to you about work-life balance and what that looks like. And, you know, I do talk about this in my book, Slay Your Day. And one of the biggest things that I want to put attention on when I talk about work-life balance and what this all means and how do we get all the things done? How do we be present for our kids and our husbands and ourselves, right? Our own health and wellness and well-being, work, all of the things, right? Is not necessarily, and this is kind of what the book that I was listening to was saying. And if you're wondering what the book is called, it is High Productivity, High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. And so I'm listening to that right now. And one of the things that he's saying is, you know, with productivity and with work-life balance, a lot of people think that work-life balance means I'm spending the same amount of time in my work as I'm spending with my family, as I'm spending on my health care, right? All these things. And there's a misconception there. And the misconception is, I don't need to spend the same amount of time, although the word is balance, and you would think like, yeah, I love Brendon and like his teachings for high performance, I think are amazing. So we don't need to spend the exact amount of time that we'd be spending on the habits that we're doing, on the activities that we're doing for the exact amount of time. So let's just say, let's go for an 8-hour workday, right? Are you spending 8 hours a day at work? And I know some of you spend more, but let's just say for the sake of this conversation that you spend 8 hours a day on work. So if we were to take that same concept and say work-life balance, that would also mean 8 hours a day you'd have to be spending with your family, right? Also 8 hours a day sleeping, investing in your health, in your wellness, right? And a lot of times what we do is we say, okay, well, in order for me to have this perfect work-life balance, I need to be able to have balance in the same amount of time in the same amount of activities. And I talk about this in my book, and one of the biggest things is just knowing that what my work-life balance looks like for me and how I become fulfilled is going to be different for you. It's going to be different for the next person, right? We need to identify though what that looks like. And again, I talk about this in my book, and this is something similar in the book that I was, the audiobook that I was listening to was saying that unless you know what is going to fulfill you, and unless you know what that looks like for you, how are you ever going to achieve that? Just like you would your targets and goals, right? Like we don't know how we're going to get there, lose the weight, have these amazing relationships, hit certain targets in business if we don't set up what we're going to do to get there. We can know we want to make a certain amount of money, weigh a certain amount, the scale to say a certain number, but unless we say what is going to get us there and where we are now and where we want to go, it's impossible for us to make that happen. And I also want to add to this is a little side note, and this is important to remember at all different changing points in your life, right? I just had a baby. My baby is, my youngest is 3 months old. And where I was and how I was operating 4 months ago before he was here looks very different than it does right now for me being postpartum and now a mom of 2 and running my business and all the things, right? So we also have to understand that there's seasons for things. There's going to be seasons, especially if you're a woman, and this is why I specifically coach women and I don't work with men is because as women, we carry a lot more of that than the men do. Typically, I'm not saying all the time, but typically we carry more of that than the men do. It's running the household. Obviously, it's taking care of our own health and wellness. It's the kids, it's the husband, it's the home, like it's the business, it's all the things. So there's a lot more components that go into that for a woman, maybe than the man, right? More times than not, if you're gonna go with a typical family dynamic, just so happens that all the clients that I work with, that's how it is. It just happens to be that the mom is the one taking on more of those roles, and it's more of that traditional role where the man is both may be working, but for the woman, she's also the one where the kids call, even if it's not set up that way, right? It's the fact that like the kids are still calling mom and they don't call dad for certain things. So it's just the way that works out. But again, with this work-life balance, and this is such a hot topic, I think right now, because when we feel like one area is off, right? Especially when we're in a pandemic, right? Like we're all going through this right now with the coronavirus and kids going back to school and maybe, doing school from home and mom feels overwhelmed because she's trying to work and do the kids in the home and all the things. What happens is, and I would love to know if this is you, right? So I would love to hear from you. You can drop me a 1 if this is you. Sometimes what happens, most of the time what happens, is when you feel off in one area, that's when you feel the most defeated. That's when you say, oh my gosh, my work-life balance feels off. Because what happens, it's not that you may be spending more or less time in one area, it's just that one of those areas is taking up more of your time than previously or what you're used to. So let's say you're at a certain, I know for me in my life, I'll share with you with my husband and I, there's 1 month out of the year where they have a conference and it takes a lot out of him. He's kind of running everything behind the scenes and he's making, he has to be super present for that. And during that month, he's all in on the work thing. And the family thing, not that it takes a back seat, but it's just that I understand at that time, that's going to take more out of him. So when that kind of wraps up, then we kind of get back into the family time, right? And not that we're not doing family time all along, but I just know that that takes more out of him than it would, let's say, the 11 months rest out of the year, right? So again, when you're defining your work-life balance, I want you to think, because can be very overwhelming when you're like, everyone else has this figured out. And thank you so much, Sayuri. She just had a baby. I think your baby's what, 2 months? Because I know Jordy's 3, so I think your baby is just a month maybe behind, maybe a month or 2 behind where I'm at in my postpartum journey. And with all of that being said, at the end of the day, all of those things are changing. Like all the time, we're changing, we're evolving. Our businesses are growing, our kids are getting older. There's certain demands that you may need to be present and show up for that don't necessarily need as much time or attention than normal. 1 month, okay, amazing. Yeah, so I'll tell you this, Sayuri, and for all the moms watching and for the dads too, it gets easier, the newborn stage at 3 months, at 4 months, and 6 months. I remember with Jake, those were kind of like the benchmarks where it seemed to get a little bit easier. There is that 4-month regression, so keep an eye out for that. If you want an amazing book and app to download, it's called the Wonder Weeks, and that'll kind of tell you where your baby's at. But sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. But this kind of goes into what I'm talking about. Like different times call for, sorry about that, guys. Different times call for different needs of what, how, and how much, and how, and when, and where you show up. And also with that being said, I would love to know from you, right? How often do you do an assessment on where you are? What are you feeling? How are you doing in this work-life balance, right? Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that so much. So how often are you doing this assessment? So Jared and I actually used to do this before we had babies, and now we really need to put attention on this more than ever. And it's a little check-in. And at the end of the week, what you can do is we used to rate each other and we'd say, how am I doing? Like, how am I showing up as a partner for you? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, what am I doing great in? What do I need to work on? And again, because life is always changing, we're always evolving and growing, and times are changing, there's gonna be some weeks or days when it's better. And thank you for the hearts, you guys. I so appreciate that. And there's gonna be other times when you're like crushing it and killing it, and other times when you're like, yeah, I gotta step it up, right? And this is just nice because when things are flowing and jamming and going, and then also when you got to pick it up a little bit. But it's like a soft little touch, a little push in the right direction of like, what can I do? How can I show up and be present for the other person, right? Which is like so important. Thank you, Gary. You guys are amazing. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you, Katrina. You guys are so sweet today. We don't have any of the trolls that are on, because sometimes you get the crazy trolls that get on here. But I appreciate you all so much for being here, because, I do what I do specifically with moms and with women because I see the impact that it has on the entire family. When I started doing my coaching, and I saw that when I would coach the woman, like the mom, right? Let's just say the nucleus of the family, I saw how amazing it affected the rest of her life. So it wasn't just like her business was blowing up and getting better and getting more attention. She was telling me she was having more intentional time with her kids and her husband, and she was taking care of herself, and really showing up for herself in that way. And that's why I wrote my book, was because I know that there's some women that can afford my coaching or my courses, my content, things like that. And I know that there's some that can't, right? Maybe just they're not at that point yet. And I wrote my book, Slay Your Day, because, and this wasn't even meant to be a topic on that, but we're here, so here we are. Because I wanted this for everyone. Like, I want this for every woman. I want this for every family to feel like you are in control, and you feel like this work-life balance, like I said, it's never like going to be 50-50. It's never going to be like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm putting the exact amount of time in my business that I am my family. I'll tell you, there's days when I'm just 100% all in with the family and my business needs to take a back seat. And then there's vice versa, when there's days when I'm more into my business and I'm like, wait a minute, I need to like stop for a second, put Jake down for a nap, have that intentional time with my husband, get on my Peloton and ride, for 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it is, because no day is ever the same. And I'm sure for you, if you're an entrepreneur, even if you work for someone else, you're always constantly meeting the demands of other people. So it's so important that you show up for you, and then you also have these little check-ins with yourself. So I want to give you guys a little exercise. Are you up for an exercise? Would you want me to give you a little exercise on how to help with this work-life balance? Because this is something, again, that I do with my clients, and I think that it's so important that we check in on this, and we do this regularly, because this is a little check-in to say, where am I at? So if you want that, drop me a heart or drop me a little emoji and let me know if you want the exercise, because like I said, this is something that's an amazing thing to do at least once a week. Minimum, do it once a month. This will really help in all areas of your life to really grasp and see, where am I at? How am I feeling? Let me just check in with myself to see how I'm doing. So give me some hearts or drop me the number 1 if you want this exercise. Let me know. Again, this is going to help really get you laser focused and give you an assessment of where you are now and how you can kind of see where you're at and see what needs more attention. And thank you for the hearts. Okay, so you guys are wanting this. Okay, so get out a pen and paper. Thank you for the hearts. So you guys are wanting this. Yes, I see the emojis, I see the hearts. Okay, so you're wanting this. Okay, so this isn't a very long exercise, but it's very, very important to Katrina, amazing, Marina, hello. Okay, so we're gonna do it. We're gonna do the exercise. So if you're watching me on your phone, get out a piece of paper, maybe go back and watch the replay, go through this and write this down, because this is really important to do at least, like I said, once a month, to take this inventory, to see where you're at, to really help you figure out this work-life balance. And again, just do these little check-ins. Hi, Patty, how are you? So we're gonna do a little live together next month, so I'll keep you guys updated for that, what Patty and I are gonna do. So, okay, so here is the exercise. Okay, get out your piece of paper. You're gonna write 10 things down, okay? So number 1, I'm going to, and by the way, I'm gonna give you 10 key areas. And what I want you to do in each one of these key areas that I'm gonna give you, I want you to analyze for you, not how your partner feels, not what your kids would rate you, not what your boss would rate you, how you feel like you're showing up in each one of these areas, okay? How fulfilled you are in each one of these areas. This is such an amazing exercise. When I did this for the first time about 6 years ago, it was game changing for me. And it's something that allows me to check in and say, where am I? Where do I need to step it up a little bit? Where am I putting too much attention or not enough attention? So I want to walk you through this. So first, physical health. Where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? And again, this doesn't have to be like, a long exercise. It's quick, see where I'm at, and then I'll tell you the second part of the exercise. So 1, physical health. How fulfilled are you? How good do you feel in this area on a scale of 1 to 10? How am I working out, fueling my body, getting enough water, getting enough rest? All of that goes into that category. Number 2, mental well-being. How do I feel mentally, right? Do I feel like I'm in a good place? Do I feel like, mentally that I'm on top of my game and I'm able to kind of get the mental little check-ins and health and really just like, am I feeling good, right? Because it all starts with our own minds, right? So mentally, how am I feeling? That's number 2. Number 3, environment and surroundings. Number 4, hobbies, joy, and restoration. Okay, how am I restoring my body? How am I going out and enjoying some hobbies, right? I know for Jake and I, you guys see on my stories, every afternoon we do little arts and crafts and hobbies projects together, and it's fun. I have so much joy doing that, right? So that would go under that category. 5, romance. That's your romantic partner, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. That falls into that category. Number 6, friends and family. So 5 is romance, right? Romance meaning your partner. But number 6 is your friends and family. So how often are you seeing them? How often do you want to see them? How often are you checking in with your friends? How often are you doing maybe a girls' night? How often are you getting that time to go meet up with your family, right? So that's number 6. Number 7 is finances, okay? 7 is finances. 8 is purpose or career. And I want you to know that these two things are very different. So finances is where am I financially? Okay, these can be your investments. This is the money, how much money you're making every month. But number 8 is your purpose and career, which is very different because your career and your finances, right? Your career and your purpose, the purpose of what you do, but also purpose and career can be different because what you do in, let's say, your 9 to 5 can be different than what your purpose is. That could be like your side hustle even. So that's number 8. Number 9 is spirituality, and number 10 is personal growth, okay? So for each one of those, I want you to rank 1 through 10, okay? And you don't need to put too much like into this yet, into this first part. Just go through and rank it 1 through 10, okay? Physical health, mental well-being, environment, surroundings, hobbies, joy, restoration, romance, friends and family, finances, purpose or career, spirituality, and personal growth, okay? So those are the 10. And then after you go through those, the second part of this training, after you rank where you're at, I want you to write down and identify what would make these a 10 for you. So if you're at a 7, right? Let's say you're at a 7 with romance. First thing I saw on here. Let's say you're at a 7. What can you do to make that a 10? Can you write your partner a little love notes? Can you meet for lunch maybe once a week? Can you go on a day date? Can you put the dates on the calendar to go and have that date night with your significant other? Right? Like, what are the things that you can do to start putting attention on to make it your perfect 10, your ideal 10? Because again, what is ideal for me is going to be different than you and each of the people, each individually of the people that are watching. So for you, what would make that a 10 on your personal growth, your spirituality, your hobbies, your friends and family, your finances, your purpose, all of these things? And this all goes back into work-life balance because at the end of the day, if you don't identify these things, you're never going to have them. And so many people say, Sandy, like when I first talk to my clients and they're like, I just can't find my work-life balance. I don't know where to start. I don't know really what it looks like. This is what I walk them through because it's so important to be able to identify these things. And of course, like so much more goes into the coaching part of this. But this is where we start and we say, what do I want this to look like? And I'll tell you, like personally for me, what this looked like for me was very different 4 months ago than it was now, right? My family's getting a lot more of that attention right now than my business is getting. I wrote a book just a few months ago back in May. So it was like I had my baby, the book launched all in the same month. It was like all hands on deck. And that would go under my, my purpose and my career. But family, right? Like even, and all the moms that are watching, you guys can attest to this. When you're a new mom and you're breastfeeding the baby, right? Like there's just every 2 to 3 hours, you are with that baby. So no matter how many work calls you need to take, no matter how much time you want to go out and enjoy some time with your hubby, you are on a time clock. There's no more umbilical cord, but you are still attached to that baby. So like with that all being said, that doesn't last forever, right? Like you're not breastfeeding for, hopefully not. You're not breastfeeding, when the kid's like 4, 5, 6, 18 years old, right? Like that ends, and like it's such a beautiful thing, but like you want to enjoy it while you're in it. So especially for all the new moms that are on here, being a mom now for the second time, I think you are a little bit more relaxed. You understand things a little bit better the second time around. You're just a little bit more seasoned, So as a second time mom, speaking to some of the first time moms out there, it is a little bit more stressful the first time because you're like trying to figure out all the stuff. And then as a second time mom, like you just kind of like are more comfortable with some things. Like, not sleeping isn't going to last forever. That like the sleep regressions are going to end. That like the little baby cuddles and stuff like that comes to an end too. So that's why I say there's such a beauty to all of this. Like it's such a bittersweet thing because we love and just like want to keep our babies so little forever. But at the end of the day, like not sleeping comes with that. And these sleep regressions and, like the kids, like they gotta grow up and fly on their own, right? Like our job as parents, and the number one thing that I've identified as a parent is like, I want to teach my sons, especially my sons, to be independent men and gentlemen, right? Like to teach them to grow up to be amazing providers for their families. And these, I have a shirt that says raising gentlemen. And that's what I want to teach them. Like every time someone leaves our house, I have Jake grab them by the hand if it's a woman and like walk her to the door and say, thanks for coming over. Especially like his grandmas and, any of my girlfriends. Like that's his job, is to be a little gentleman and like be a gentleman and like walk them to the door and like hold open the doors and offer them a glass of water, little things like that. But it's my job as a mom, to teach him those things. So, be like Jared. My husband's amazing when it comes to all of that. He is such a gentleman, and that's what we're teaching our boys. And, at the end of the day, for me, it's very important. And I know for my clients that I work with, it's very important for them to figure out this and their work-life balance. Because if we can't figure this out, if we don't identify these things, we're going to wake up 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now and say, oh my God, I just wasted the last however many years of my life being unhappy, being unfulfilled. And to me, the greatest thing that I do, like every single interview that I have when they say, what are you most proud of? Or like, what is your greatest fulfillment? Other than obviously like my kids and my family, is the work that I do has such a massive impact on families, on happiness, on purpose and potential. Like all of that is so amazing. So that's really what I enjoy. That's one of the biggest things that I enjoy working with my clients, is because again, we all will identify differently with what that work-life balance looks like for each of us. But at the end of the day, you do want to identify what that looks like for you and know that it can change. Again, it'll change because of a season. It'll change because of a reason, right? Like you have a baby, you move. Maybe you need to help your parents. Maybe they move in because they're a little bit older and they just need a little extra TLC now. Who knows what it is? Whatever that changing time in your life would be, that's when you really want to reevaluate going through this. But to really check in with yourself so it doesn't get away from you, I would recommend doing this at least once a month, if not at least once a week. To really keep it top of mind. Pop open a glass of wine, sit down with your husband or your wife, and just go through it and have fun with it, and get that feedback, that positive feedback from each other about where you're at, what you're enjoying, what you want to do more of, what you want to do less of, because that's super important too to identify. So I hope this exercise helped. Again, this is day 2 of my 30-day live extravaganza. If you guys have any questions about my coaching or my programs or anything that I've talked about here, let me know. Like I said, this is only day 2 of day 30 that I'm going to go on live, and part of this challenge, this 30-day challenge, is every day to go live and just come here and chat with you guys. And none of this is planned. Let me tell you, none of what I talk about is going to be like mapped out. Like I don't have any, you guys know that like I'm the queen of like mapping things out. Hello. But this is sporadic. It's off the cuff. It could be a question that I get from a coaching client. It could be inspiration from my kids or my husband or whatever, maybe from one of you. If you have a question that you want me to answer and do a live on, we're gonna just do 30 days of this. And like I said, whatever it is and whatever questions you have for me, let me know. Because if it's a question you have, just know that there's someone else that probably is thinking the same thing and that they have a similar question, and maybe they're just not as brave to ask. So I welcome the questions, I welcome the content. And again, if you're interested in any of my coaching or my courses, any of my content, sandraglant.com is where you can find out all the information on my one-on-one coaching and I'm not doing group coaching yet. That'll be something that I'm saving for Q1 of 2021. But yeah, so just one-on-one coaching now. And I do have courses that you can purchase. So again, any questions, let me know. I hope this exercise has helped you. And if you do go through the exercise and you do go through these 10 things, let me know, tag me in it, let me know how this has helped you. Okay, everybody, have an amazing day. And thank you so much for popping on. Bye-bye.